1 John chapter 4, we actually read verse 7 last week, so we'll pick it up there. 8 contains the big moment. Beloved, let us love one another, for love is of God, and everyone who loves is born of God and knows God. He who does not love does not know God. And here it comes, the last 3 words of the 8th verse of 1 John 4, God is love. And I'll say it again. To me, it's the most important moment to define the nature and the character of God are the last 3 words of 1 John 4:8. God is love. Whatever else you think about God, let it become subservient to God is love. Let this be the beginnings tonight of clearing off whatever dusty pictures we have of God. Whatever we have thought He looked like, whatever Bible stories we have in our pocket, whatever our Sunday school programs have said, whatever we learned in the pulpits and the seminaries, whatever we learned in the school of hard knocks, and someone told us, well, that was God doing this, or that was God putting you through that. Okay. We can sit all day long and bring all the stories we have of God to the table, and man, you will muddy the waters pretty quick on what people think God looks like, what God does, what God did, what God's doing. You'll be reaching into the past. That's why we have a lot of denominations, we have a lot of doctrines, we have a lot of religions. They're all talking about God in one way or the other. They give Him different names. For my money, there's nothing that says what I see in God better than God is love. Nothing. To the point, and I'm not going to try to drag you here to this place tonight. I just want to let you know where I am on the journey. That I've become so convinced of God as love that I filter everything anymore that I hear about God or think about God or read about God or feel about God through those 3 words. And if I get to the other side with what I came into it with, okay, here's what I think about God. God is love. If it can come out that other side and it looks like God is love, then I go, okay, I can deal with that. If I can't squeeze it through that filter, like it just keeps bumping up against God as love and I don't know where to take it, I just let it lay there anymore. No, I don't have to be responsible for 10,000 answers to every question or one answer to 10,000 questions. I just end up with, hey, God is love. This is where John ends up. This is a guy that walked with Jesus and talked with Jesus and ate next to Him and watched Him heal and watched Him die and watched Him, for all intents and purposes, raised from the dead. And I either believe it or I don't. And what I'm forced to confront is, hey, I touched Him, I saw Him, I handled Him. He's the Word of life. He was real. By the way, God is love. And if that's what he came up with after hanging out with Jesus for 3 years, then what have I got? What stories do I have about what I think God might be that's going to trump a guy that walked with Jesus and said, hey, by the way, God is love. That's what I learned hanging out with Jesus. And so what would you learn if you could hang out with Jesus? And what would you come up with that maybe you didn't know before? Well, I can't answer that. Who knows what you might learn, and only you know what you would want to ask. But if we're to trust an eyewitness, you come away believing that God loves you more than you thought He did. You'd come away believing that God loves your enemy more than you thought He did. And you'd come away knowing that maybe the thing that you're supposed to do on the earth is not try to get to heaven, try to solve all the problems, come up with answers or have a well thought out opinion, but just to love. That if you could start there, well, that would be a pretty good place to start. That if you could love in the way you're loved. It's why there's no greater revelation as children of God than the revelation that God loves us. And it's also why there's no revelation we need repeated more often as children of God than God loves us. Because it's easy to forget in a world where there's all kinds of stuff to take our attention. The fact that God is love. Now,